Dan Illman, Mike Beer. The DRF race of the day for Saturday, September the 16th, race number 9 at Woodbine. It is the prestigious Grade 1, $1 million Woodbine Mile. Let's take a look at this field. We're going one turn over the spacious EP Taylor turf course. Please scan or click the QR code for race of the day access on your mobile devices, which includes free formulator, past performances, and this race is the first leg of a 20-cent, $250,000 guaranteed pool in the pick 4. And Mike, Master of the Seas goes out for Charlie Appleby, and that's all you need to know. Appleby has won with his last 7 starters at Woodbine.
7 in a row, all grade 1s on the grass. We'll see if they can keep it going. It hasn't been the typical juggernaut, Appleby and Godolphin, so far in North America this year, but man, they tend to send the right horses up here to Woodbine. They have the even money morning line favorite for this race.
And it looks like they might have found the right field for Master of the Seas. We'll throw up the Timeform US pace projector. It is a short field. The 5 My Sea Cottage is expected to make the lead. Now, My Sea Cottage's sort of signature win has been in a $50,000 starter allowance. War Bomber, though, is a very sneaky horse. He has tactical speed. I think he's going to be sitting right there. And War Bomber's underrated. He might make the lead turning for home and make this favorite work.
Yeah, that was the case in his most recent start for War Bomber, where he just sat the right trip, took over in the stretch, and then just sort of kept on going. You're right, Dan. This trip could really work out for him because I do think My Sea Cottage is in here to cut this pace, and I'm just not sure he's good enough to take this field all the way.
Master of the Seas is the number 1. He is the Godolphin runner for Appleby and William Buick, and he's coming off a Group 2 win in England. He's also a Group 2 win in Dubai, a winner in Dubai, and he's going to be running at the end of this race. And you'll know Appleby just sends the right horses seemingly all the time. He picks horses with an American style of running. This horse is going to kick on in the stretch. And listen, if someone tries to stretch this field out and the pace is fast, it helps him. And I think if they just run in a pack, it turns out to the best closer, and it's him.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. I mean, most of his races over there, and there was a big gap there, Dan. I mean, he only got 1 start in all of last year. He ran really well in that race to win, but you know, there was a little bit of a gap. He had something to overcome earlier this year, but mostly he sits sort of right up close. He's always on hold, tracking paces, and then when he gets clear, he finishes. The most recent start that he was in at Ascot back in July, they rolled on the pace in front of him. He just sat at the back. He came running, and he won that race really easily from well off of it. But if this pace is slow, Dan, he's not going to be that far away. And overall, his form is rock solid.
War Bomber is the number 2. He won the local prep for this race, the King Edward over course and distance. Let's watch that performance. And this is the trip that Timeform US is projecting, where he sat second early. He goes after the leader turning into the stretch. And the leader, Treason, is a pretty good horse. You could argue that Treason has more class than the potential pace setter on the Woodbine Mile, My Sea Cottage. And War Bomber goes by him, and he's going to fight Treason all the way down to the wire. He's a gutsy horse.
Yeah, he had the right trip in this race, and he's going to get the job done. It's a good performance overall. 2 stories of this race, though, Dan. One is just that he got the right trip in here, and he got the job done. I think the other story of that race is Cheryl Spite was making his first start there as the favorite, first time back from Dubai, and he just didn't fire his good shot there. We'll see. It feels like if Cheryl Spite fires his good shot here, War Bomber's going to have a much tougher time winning this race.
And I think that's a very important handicapping factor in this race as we turn the page to the 3 Cheryl Spite, because we certainly know he's good enough to win this race. He was second in the Breeders' Cup Mile last year. And in his most recent race, as Mike mentioned, his first start back from Dubai, they had to be using that race just as a prep for this. So if he ran at 80% fitness, he was flat. He finished 4th. I think if the real Cheryl Spite shows up, he might be a fair price in this race, considering Godolphin's taking all the money.
Exactly. I mean, there's an argument to be made that if everybody shows up with their good race here, Cheryl Spite's the horse to beat in here. He's got several races that will make him really, really tough in here, even with Master of the Seas in this race, Dan. And that's, I think the point you're trying to make about that King Edward last time is maybe he just needed one first time back, because they sent him to Japan, then they sent him to Dubai, and then he got time off, and that was his first start back, and he just didn't. You could go back and pull the replay. We just showed it through the stretch. He was just finishing evenly in there. He never really picked up a strong run. I suspect he's going to pick up a strong run in here.
Ice Chocolat is the number 4, and this horse seems to be improving slowly for trainer Mark Cassidy. I think they're trying to figure out what distance is good for him. Is he a late running sprinter? Is he a middle distance horse? Let's watch his last race, the 4-star Dave at Saratoga. He kind of got forced out on the first turn, but being a late runner, he was going to be far behind anyway. After that, Rosario worked out a nice closer's trip, the old in out. The pace was there for him, and he's going to be running on for third. He earned a solid buyer speed figure of 100.
I thought he ran really well in here. He's only third best, but it's a good performance. I thought he ran really well. 2 starts back, and the Kelso was sort of behind the same 2 horses, but that was another good performance from him. I really like the form he comes into this race in, Dan. We'll see if everything sets up the right way for him. And I'm just the one little thing that I'll nitpick with Ice Chocolat is at this point, Dan, is his last 2 races are really good. Is he just kind of exposed now? I mean, he was 21-1, then he was 11-1. He's got to be a much shorter price in this race. I'm just not sure I'd want to take one of those.
My Sea Cottage is up next, 4th last time out on the 4-star Dave. He carved out those legitimate fractions, and all things considered at a big price. He hung in pretty well while no match for the top 3. He's going to be on the lead in here, it looks like, but he's facing a very tough group.
Yeah, I mean, I like this horse. I just don't like him in races like this, Dan. He was fine last time, well, no match in that grade 1 at Saratoga. He just feels like he's in over his head against horses like this, but maybe he'll just get loose and take him a long way.
Lucky Score, the number 6, has been a sprinter for most of his career, but he ran an okay third last time out in the King Edward. Can you give him an extra point or two, realizing that the top 2 finishers were right up on the pace throughout, and this horse came from far out of it?
Yeah, I mean, the race didn't necessarily set up great for him. He did, the best that he could do with it. I thought it also, obviously, again, it helped him that Cheryl Spike just didn't really fire in there. So he was the 3rd best horse that day. He probably won't be the 3rd best horse here. I mean, overall, he's a closing sprinter, Dan. I don't like taking these horses when they try to stretch him out. And this field, I think it's going to be tougher for him than that last one was.
Before we get to our top selections, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for the latest DRF videos. Let's take a look at our top picks for the Woodbine Mile. You're going to think it's a grade 8 in a row for Appleby. Master of the Seas, too much for this field, Mike?
I'm just going to take him because I like his overall form, Dan. I think he can get the right trip in this race. I'll wait and see how they bet it, though. I do kind of feel like if they bet it along the morning line, it's going to be really tempting to take Cheryl Spite in here and just hope that he shows up with his good race.
Ice Chocolat, again, kicked on nicely last time out. I wonder if he's just starting to come into form. Maybe the 1-turn mile is going to be what he's been waiting for. And while I understand what you're saying, he's been big prices in his last few races, he still might be the 3rd choice in this race or co-3rd choice. So I'll give him one more chance. 1-3-4-2 for Mike, 4-1-3-2 for me in the Woodbine Mile. Good luck.